What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Behind me we have our 2023 BMW G80 M3 that we're transforming into a Tier C approved street machine, and then we're gonna be giving it away to one of you. And don't miss out, our giveaway to win this BMW M3 is now live on our site. Anything you grab on thatracingchannel.com automatically gets you entered for a chance to win. All right guys, so we got some badass new BMW merch on the site. We got the G80 M3, M3 Legacy shirt, M-inspired Tier C logo. We have these new jackets that came out so sick. So they're very light, windbreaker style, champion jacket with the TRC M-inspired logo. We got some new TRC logo merch, came out super sick. We got some badass hats with the TRC M-inspired logo. These came out really, really good. And for the first time ever on our site, we have youth clothing. We always have been asked over the years and we've never had it, so now it's live on the site. Make sure to scoop that up for the kids as well. Got some badass hoodies, M3 merch, tons of stuff on the site. Make sure you check it out. Anything you scoop on our site gets you automatically entered for a chance to win. And for details on when this giveaway ends, make sure you check the details page on our website. Let's get into the video.
What's up everybody? We're here at Deka Clutches in Hollywood, Florida. We brought the TRC M3 G80 transmission here, and today we're gonna do a full teardown and a DIY build and show you guys exactly how it's done. All right, so here we have it. This is a ZF 8HP76 transmission. This is the transmission that comes in all the G8X cars, so your M2, M3, M4. We're gonna see what it looks like in the inside, see if any components failed, any components that are worn. My guess is everything's probably gonna look perfect. These transmissions are awesome. They can take a beating even in their factory form. So let's get this thing pulled apart and get it ready to hold more power. So as we dive into the teardown, one of the first things that we removed is gonna be that adapter that sends your oil for the tranny fluid to the oil cooler. So we went ahead and removed that. And while we're here, I just kind of wanted to speak about this component. So if you're ever in a situation where you need to get your car neutral and your battery's dead, this is pretty much your neutral safety lever. It's pretty tough, so I'm not gonna do it by hand, but you can kind of grab it with a hook. It'll pull straight down and you can shove a bolt in there and keep it down. Once you have it pinned down like that, it'll keep this tranny in neutral. In the case you ever need to push your car, you would have to jack it up, get to the underside, and if it's all-wheel drive, you're also gonna have that front shaft in the way that would have to be removed. The next thing that we went ahead to remove is this rear output shaft seal. So this output shaft seal has to come out, as well as this snap ring right here. You will get a new one of these output shaft seals with the DIY kit that you'll see further on in the install. So we went ahead and we removed the transmission oil pan. Pretty self-explanatory. Now that we do have the pan removed, the next item you're gonna see exposed is gonna be our valve body here. You can also see a few other items in here. Within here, you can see the solenoids that are controlled by the mechatronics. These solenoids control oil flow within the valve body, which in turn will give you drive power to your selected gear. This here is your accumulator. This is pretty much what builds up oil pressure, sends it to the torque converter to spin the motor and start it when your automatic start and stop function is still working. So one thing that I want to point out about these oil pump bolts now that they're pulled out, once you hold this bolt in your hand, you're going to see that this bolt is actually very lightweight. So this bolt is made of aluminum. The reason why is this bolt's actually designed to stretch. So this bolt is a one-time use bolt. In the DIY kit, you will receive a new set of bolts. It's very important that you make sure that these are replaced and these are torqued. first thing that we're gonna do now that we have our drum and stack out is we're gonna go ahead and pop this snap ring out. In order to do so, ZF has designed a tool that clips onto the outer ring of this drum. As you can tell, this drum is aluminum, very thin wall. So if you come in here with a flathead and you try to pop that snap ring out, you're going to crack this edge of this drum. So let me go ahead and get the tool. Let's put this tool on and show you guys how it supports this outer ring so you can put a tool in and pop that snap ring out. Here's the tool that I was explaining to you guys about. So this tool is actually going to clip on over this drum here. This is going to be our E-clutch and hub. So this snout is the infamous snout that always breaks once you make past 850, 900 torque with these transmissions. So what ends up happening is this cast aluminum snout right there just can't hold the torque and it ends up snapping right here. And typically it doesn't snap clean off as it's cast. It'll typically like break and crumble a lot of aluminum into the transmission. So it's always a good idea to avoid coming into that situation where you do break it and cause more damage to the transmission. You can see the piston on the back. You can see our frictions and our steels. And you could also see a very small amount of play in there, which that right there has to be measured. And the tolerance of that play that's going to be within each clutch pack is detrimental to how the car is going to shift, to if the car is going to hold power. It's one of the most important things in my eyes when building these transmissions. So now we're going to go ahead and go back to our oil pump, and we're going to go ahead and take that snap ring out so we can go ahead and remove the clutches and the frictions and steels from our A clutch pack. So that there would be our A clutches. Now here we have our D clutch. So we're going to go ahead and remove our snap ring. Not sure if you guys can tell, but this basket is made of steel, so we didn't have to use a tool. You can just go right in and pry that snap ring out. And here goes our frictions and our steels for the D clutch pack. Once you get that snap ring removed, you can kind of just flip it upside down, get the piston right out, get the spring right out, as well as this piston to come right out as well. So I believe now we have our D clutch, our A clutch, our C clutch, and our E clutch. They're all disassembled. All the factory clutch discs and the frictions and steels, are removed. The B clutch is the only thing that doesn't have to be opened up, as those frictions and steels will actually retain inside of the bell housing of the transmission. In the case whenever you're washing your transmission, things that you want to be careful about is on the inside where he's spraying brake cleaner into right now. We're going to show you like the parking prowl and some items and components in there that are made of steel. So in the case when you do decide to wash out the inside of the transmission, like this component, this spring, this component, and this spring here, they're all made of steel. So once they get washed off and there is no longer any oil on there and it's exposed to air, it will rust very fast. So after you're done cleaning, you want to make sure you grab, like what I like to use is like a WD-40 gel lube, and just kind of lightly spray all the steel components so you don't have any rust being created inside of your transmission. We're here with Dima himself.
Hello guys, I'm Dima Deka. I am owner of Deka Clutches.
Yep,
Yeah.
That's correct. Dima's been involved into transmissions and clutches for a very long time. How long have you been into the business for?
I made this 14 years.
14 years?
Yeah, 40 years plus.
Nice. What did you start out with first?
I started from Mitsubishi Evo,
Okay.
SST transmission.
Nice.
After I make DQ 250, after DQ 500, PDK, DL 800 like
Nice.
yours R8, yeah.
Yeah.
And now we made 2 years, yeah. I made ZF last 2
Nice.
years.
Awesome. So you've been doing this for a very long time.
Yeah, yeah.
Very-
I know what need to do.
Yeah, so Deka has like a full catalog. Some of the brands that he was speaking of would be like Audi, Porsche, BMW. So in my Audi R8, we also have Deka Clutch. We also have Impali's M3 CS, a Deka transmission. He has a stage 2 transmission, just like we're gonna be putting in the TRC G80 M3 today. I used to run a stage 2 transmission from Deka as well, inside of the blue car when we were at No Prep and running a lot of events about 2 years ago. Behind us here, you have these big Haas CNC machines.
Yeah, I have a CNC machine in Ukraine,
Okay.
and now we buy a new CNC machine in United States.
So now you have a
Yeah.
product made
Now-
in USA.
Yeah, now we made in USA.
Awesome.
Built in house.
And you're making all the hubs and all the components
Yeah,
for the
yeah,
ZF
yeah.
transmission right here.
Yeah,
That's
correct.
awesome, man. These are the only hubs on the market, right, that
Yeah,
come in
yeah.
stainless steel. So you no longer have to worry about the aluminum breaking years down the road.
Correct.
So we're gonna dive a little deeper into the details of installing this kit and show you guys exactly how it's done. Some things that I wanted to kind of pre-warn people. This job is something that's very detail oriented, and it's not something for the average technician. The skill level of this, I would definitely say, requires an A technician to get this job done. In the case that you make any mistakes, the failures could be catastrophic, honestly. So Deka's getting ready to put in the frictions and the steels into the A clutch pack assembly. So the first thing that's gonna go into this one is gonna be the wave spring. So he's gonna go ahead and put that wave spring in. Next disc is gonna be the steel. After the steel will be the friction. And now we're gonna go ahead and repeat the process until all 6 frictions and all 6 steels are installed. All right, so another thing that I did wanna note about this A clutch pack assembly is OEM, it comes with 5 steels, 5 frictions, and now with the Deka Stage 2 upgrade, this one clutch pack assembly is gonna get 2 extra steels and 2 extra frictions, totaling to 7 friction discs and 7 steel discs. Last but not least, this is also Deka's stainless steel pressure plate that's made in a CNC machine, made in-house here in the USA. This pressure plate is much more durable than the factory one. It's not gonna have any flex to it, so it's gonna allow more clamping force onto this A clutch pack. So another thing that I want to note as Deka goes through these steel plates and gets a thinner one in there is we're going exactly for 1.7 millimeter. The spec though is actually a minimum to maximum. The minimum being 1.6 millimeter and then the maximum tolerance being 1.8 millimeter. So it would be amazing if you fall right in between and you land at 1.7. In the case you land with a 1.6 tolerance or a 1.8 tolerance, it's still good to go. So now Deka went ahead and switched out one of those thicker steel plates for a slightly thinner steel plate. He used his veneer caliper to find one that's slightly thinner, and now he's stacking everything back in. We're gonna go ahead and get that snap ring in after, and we're gonna go ahead and recheck and remeasure and see what our tolerance is now. Okay, so here we have the A hub. That's gonna go into the center of the clutch pack. The friction discs are gonna grab onto this hub here. One thing that we wanted to mention to everybody is if you look very, very closely, you can see these little stopper teeth that come out on this hub. They're not gonna be on every tooth. You're only gonna have 4 places that are gonna be located. So pretty much like a T, you're gonna have one here, you're gonna have one here, you're gonna have a third, and then you're gonna have your fourth. So what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna remove these little indentations, these little stopping teeth that come out so that you can allow full movement of the clutch packs that are gonna be installed now. So you can take a file, a porting bit, whatever it is that you do take, you wanna make sure that you're extremely careful and you're only removing these little teeth and you're not grinding away at the actual gear tooth itself. Also carefully, very gently, just take your time and grind away. You're not looking, you're just removing that little stopper that indents out. Just to show you guys while we're here, this is his billet steel hub that mates with the C hub. For the Stage 2 kit, we'll only be using the OEM hub. You'll very rarely ever see this fail. I think once you start going north of 1600 horsepower, you may start to see slight wear, but it's almost impossible to crack or break something that's steel. We're just kind of preventing anything in the future that may wear down or cause issues. So another thing that Deka just pointed out is here on the top, you'll see some oiling ports. So Deka's actually added more oiling ports than the factory supplies. So now there's 4 oiling ports versus the OEM hub is only gonna come with 2 oiling ports. Keep in mind, this hub is only gonna come with Stage 3 or higher kits. You're actually going to receive your E clutch assembly and your C clutch assembly already assembled. Before Deka goes ahead and assembles it, I just wanted to point out one of the great features of his DIY kit and his products. So what I have here in my hands is gonna be the piston for the C clutch assembly. The E clutch assembly is gonna have the same piston as well. So we get rid of the factory piston and replace it with a billet steel piston that's made here in-house by Deka. And in comparison to the factory piston, you can see here that the factory piston is made of a thin steel. It can flex once under load and trying to apply pressure to that clutch pack. So now with this stainless steel version that Deka has made, there's literally no flex that's gonna even be possible within this piece. You're gonna have a much stronger clamping force onto your E and to your C clutch pack assembly. These clutch pack assemblies are the most important. So these are the ones that are going to slip. Once you get into high power and you don't break that hub on the snout of the E hub, you're gonna end up slipping the power when you have a stock clutch and you start making north of 800, 850 foot-pounds of torque with a stock ZF 8HP76 transmission. You're pretty much gonna start slipping these 2 hubs first. This E-hub is designed by Deka. It has a lot of changes and improvements over the OEM hub. It's made of a tool steel. It's a Ukrainian steel referred to as X40. I believe the equivalent US steel would be 5140. Take a closer look at it and you're gonna notice here the pressure plate is actually incorporated into the hub itself. Before, when we were looking at the stock hub, you were able to notice that there was no rim here. You had those little edges and then the first steel within the frictions would act as the pressure plate. Now the pressure plate is no longer incorporated into the frictions, it's now incorporated into the hub itself, which also in turn gives us more room to fit more frictions and more steels. Deka's hub has some oiling grooves that are cut into the teeth. as well as some added oiling holes. You can see here on the teeth where the friction are going to lie, it has extra oiling grooves added into it. You can also see some indentations cut into the teeth. That way when the frictions and the steels slide up and down, there's less surface area touching, allowing for freer movement of those discs. In their original state, the E hub assembly is going to only hold 5 steels and 5 frictions, and then the C assembly is going to hold 6 steels and 6 frictions. Now with the stage 2 upgrade, it's going to add 2 additional steels and frictions to each hub assembly, leaving us with 7 total in the E and then 8 total in the C. So one thing that Deka always does, once we have our drums and all our clutch packs assembled, he does an air check to the piston. So this is where your oil is going to flow, and apply that oil pressure to those clutch packs as I showed you earlier in the video. And he's verifying the movement of those pistons. He's also verifying that when he puts air in, he doesn't hear any air leak out of any of the pistons. So one thing to note, as you can see, Deka went ahead and put that oil pump in. The oil pump should go right in, and the oil pump should also be smooth at its race here, and it should be in flush. In the case that your oil pump doesn't go right in, or it feels like it's in, but it's a little bit raised higher than where it should be, then you know you have an issue and you need to pull it back apart. Next thing is our bolts and our washers. So as stated before on removal, these are one-time use bolts. They're stretch bolts, so they need to be replaced every time that oil pump comes out, or you take the screw out. You need to put a new one in. Here's going to be the washer that also has a built-in gasket, which is also new, and both of these items are included as a full set within the DIY kit. This is a very important component right here. This O-ring is going to go onto your input shaft, and this is going to seal the shaft when it goes into the torque converter. If this O-ring's pinched or missing, you will run into issues. Very simple O-ring to put on. There's only one spline here at the shaft for that O-ring to fit. I'm going to show you guys something that always gets done whenever your transmission comes to Deka. Not everybody feels comfortable pulling apart a valve body, but what we're going to do right now is we're going to open this valve body up, and we're going to clean out the insides, get all the old oil out, and make sure everything's perfect inside of this valve body. Once it's separated and opened up, You're gonna have a lot of little check valves, balls, and springs. It's very important that they stay in the exact same place that they come out of. And we're gonna save this one last screw right here for last, so that way when we open it and pull that last screw, we very carefully separate the two plates of the valve body. We're gonna go ahead and just take a moment and leave the camera here on the valve body while it's open. If anybody ever needs to reference back when they decide to clean their valve body on their own, this is gonna be the exact position for each check valve and each spring and where they belong. If you take a closer look, he'll hover over. We got a green check valve there. We have another little blue one here. And the rest are pretty obvious. I'm sure that you should be able to see the rest through the camera. And you should definitely be able to see the green one and the blue one at that angle. This is the correct position for all springs and check valves inside of the valve body. So one thing that I want to point out as we get ready to torque this valve body together and torque the valve body to the transmission, everything's going to be 10 Newton meters, but just for everybody's reference, so you guys do know, it's going to be these bigger bolts that actually hold the valve body to the transmission, and it's going to be these smaller bolts that hold the valve body together. So now that we have our transmission on, we're getting our bolts in. Another thing to keep in mind is the bolts for the transmission, they're gonna be just like the oil pump bolts. They're made of aluminum, they're stretch bolts, they're one-time use, so these do have to be replaced as well. The new bolts will be supplied in your DIY kit. All right, so if you made it this far into the video, then you know now we are complete with the TRC M3 transmission build. Shout out to Deka Clutches. This DIY Stage 2 kit is available to everybody online. You can purchase it at our website, mtechperformance.com. You could also purchase it directly from dekaclutches.com. We're gonna see what it's capable of, what it can hold, even though we already know this thing can hold more than 1,400 foot-pounds of torque. Let's go ahead and get this thing back over to MTech Performance, get it installed in the car. MTech Moose, I'm out.